It is this union of the perfect ideas with disordered matter that we see and experience in the world around us. Matter is the source of all evil, of pain, disappointment, imperfection, sorrow, and death. The whole world of nature and man comes out of the strange union of ideas and matter. This is the world of change that had impressed Heraclitus so deeply. All that is in the world is a poor copy of the eternal, true, unchanging ideas, coming to express through their union with matter. Whatever is beautiful, moral, fitting, and purposeful in these copies comes from the ideas. Whatever is evil, painful, and destructive in these qualities is derived from the matter. Both worlds are equally eternal. Neither can ever gain a victory over the other. Man is a union of spirit and matter. When death comes, the soul welcomes it, for it can then return to its pure state as idea unburdened by nature. It was for this reason that the philosophers in Athens listened quietly to Paul when he preached the gospel to them until he spoke about the resurrection. Now when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, but others said, "We will hear you again about this." Acts 17:32. In studying the history of the early church, it is necessary to understand the Greek view of the relationships between idea and matter, good and evil, soul and body. If it is not grasped, it is quite impossible to understand properly the first 4 centuries of church history. The 2 major heresies of Gnosticism and Arianism profoundly threaten the truth of the gospel. The first one before, the second one after AD 30. AD 300. Both arose out of a misunderstanding of man and of the world after the fashion of Socrates and Plato. Only a scriptural view of God, of man, of the world, and of their relationships to each other saved the church from becoming a witness to a false gospel. Number 3. Stoicism. We must pass over the teachings of Aristotle and others to note briefly the major teachings of Stoicism. It was the dominant philosophy in the Roman Empire at the time of Christ and the early church. The name Stoicism is derived from the Greek word stoa, meaning porch. It was a name applied to a public corridor near the marketplace in Athens where men could meet to discuss affairs. It was here that Zeno, a native of Cyprus, taught philosophy in about 300 BC. His philosophy was named Stoicism after the place where he taught it. His teaching, and that of his successors, was, like Socrates, more concerned with human conduct than with the nature of the universe. He and his successors taught that only matter exists. There is no pure spirit. Mind and body are both material. Even God is material. The universe is his body, and he is his soul. Stoicism, therefore, is a sort of pantheism, the teaching that all is God. Man is related to him as a drop of water is related to the ocean, as a spark is related to the fire out of which it shoots. God, as the world soul, governs all things, loves men, and desires what is good for them. Since man is related to God, he should follow where divine reason, called the Logos, leads. True wisdom and virtue consists in discovering where God's path for men lies. The truly human person does not resist God's leading. He surrenders himself to it, however painful this may be, for God loves him. Virtue is one, and it is undivided. The 4 greatest qualities of character are wisdom, courage, moderation, and justice. If one lacks just one of these qualities, he lacks them all. If he truly has one, he truly has all. To be free and happy means to know oneself, to know God's will for oneself, and to live according to that knowledge. Stoicism was religion as well as philosophy, but because it was philosophical in character, it was accepted only by educated men. The masses of the people were unable to reason things out as Stoicism required. Among the educated elements, however, some of the finest minds in the empire followed its teachings. One of these was Marcus Aurelius, emperor from AD 160 to 180. There was much in Stoicism that Christianity could and did use, but it could speak only to the educated. Even these, however, lacked the power to do what love and justice required. One of the cruelest persecutions of the empire against the Church took place during the reign of Marcus Aurelius. The world therefore continued to wait for a religion that not only taught what was right, but also provided the power to do what was right. And number 4, Philo. A philosopher whom we must note in conclusion is the Jewish thinker Philo. He was born in about 20 BC, died sometime after AD 40, and spent his life in Alexandria, the center of the Jewish dispersion. In some respects, Philo was more Greek than Jewish. He concerned himself with philosophy in a manner unusual for a Jew. He spoke and wrote Greek better than Hebrew. At the same time, he was and remained a genuine Jew. He found the highest divine authority not in philosophy, but in the Old Testament, especially the Pentateuch. Indeed, Philo taught that whatever was true in the philosophy of the Greeks had been said earlier by the Jewish scriptures. He believed that somehow the Greeks had obtained their major ideas from the Old Testament. Philo tried to combine the Old Testament scriptures with Greek philosophy in a united teaching. In doing this, he faced the problem of the doctrine of creation. According to biblical teaching, God created the world out of matter. Greek philosophy could not allow this. God could have no contact with matter, the source of all evil. And therefore, Philo, like the Greeks, put a mediator between God and the world. This mediator he found in the Logos. He is the greatest of the powers with which God is surrounded. In him Philo saw a divine power that is less than God, standing between God and the world. Through him God has created all things. Later, this thought played a large role in the attempt of Christian thinkers to explain the relationship of Christ to God. Religion and the Empire. The various philosophical views undoubtedly satisfied many educated minds. The masses of the people, however, were not educated. How could they find fellowship and peace with God? These could be obtained only by religion. Even among the educated there was a feeling that philosophy could not provide final answers. There were many religions in the empire to meet these needs. They were broadly of 3 kinds. Number 1, nature religion. Nature religion saw supernatural power in mountains, lakes, rivers, trees, the sun and the moon, in certain animals and men. It honored forces in nature and believed in the power of amulets and charms. Beyond these, there was belief in ancestors, in good and evil spirits, and in gods who controlled the destinies of men. Every religion of nature had its own myth and rituals, and a special class of men named priests who could recite the myths and perform the ritual ceremonies. Nature religion was always group religion. The personal element was largely absent. In a simple agricultural, fishing or herding society, such a religion might seem to be adequate. For men living in a developing and swiftly changing world, it was not. They needed a religion in which the supernatural was more personal, a religion in which men could experience the supernatural in their troubled lives. This need was met by the mystery religions. Number 2, mystery religion. The great attractiveness of mystery religion lay in the opportunity of fellowship with the divine that it offered. This fellowship was obtained by certain ceremonial acts. The first of these was baptism, whether with water or with the blood of an animal. This washed away uncleanness and made fellowship with the God possible. The baptism was followed by a sacred meal, in which this fellowship was experienced. The sacred meal led to enlightenment, and in it the new believer received knowledge of the God into whose fellowship he had been baptized. In this enlightenment he also dedicated himself to the service of God. Having this knowledge, the believer could live in peace and die in the comfort of reconciliation with his God. The followers of mystery religion were not allowed to reveal the secrets of baptism, meal fellowship, and enlightenment. For this reason, the religion was called mystery religion. Mystery religion had a long history in the East, in India, Persia, Babylon, and Egypt. It was strong in the empire when Christianity began to spread. For a while, one form of mystery religion, Mithraism, was a very strong competitor of Christianity and was especially favored by the Roman armies. Number 3, state religion. State religion had strong political aspects. Its chief element was the making of sacrifice to the emperor. Originally, sacrifice had been made to the gods of the state. In the earlier years of the empire, sacrifices were made to dead emperors. Later, living emperors were worshipped with sacrifice. The emperor was regarded as the god who gave order and prosperity to the state. In him the empire was incarnated, as it were. State religion was therefore regarded as uniting into one loyal community the great diversity of people and tribes in the empire. Any religion that recognized the god emperor and did not interfere with good order in the empire was regarded as legitimate religion. State religion was, however, religion without warmth, without fellowship, without union, without the divine, and especially it was religion without salvation. Thus concludes Chapter 1 of Harry R. Boer's A Short History of the Early Church.